Hello Internet, Jazza here. Yesterday I marched here in London with reportedly over 1 million people. This came alongside a petition which today blasted past 5 million signatures. It's the largest petition ever on the Parliament website, which asks the government to revoke Article 15 to cancel Brexit. Now, we need to be careful about those numbers because they need to be verified. There are a small number, apparently, of people signing from outside of the UK, and there's also a handful of unhelpful people who'd rather that we weren't given a chance to reconsider our decision to leave the European Union. Who are signing up with fake accounts to prove how bad the parliament system is. Don't be childish. Like, it's a bloody big petition regardless. But that is what made this march of reportedly 1 million people feel so special to me, because all of a sudden all of that remote and online activism that a lot of people have been doing, whether that is writing to your MP or signing petitions or pointing out Tom Harwood's inconsistencies on Twitter, it all of a sudden all became really physical and lovely, and that was really important. I've marched in these protests a lot before. You guys know that I am a massive Remainer, and it's a lot of the usual suspects, a load of quirky weirdos from the Shires, like swing dancers whose feet must have been really painful by the end of the day, marching and dancing. A cappella singers entertaining us while we waited for the rally to start, to someone playing whatever the hell it was that these people were playing, but regardless, I appreciated the entertainment. A lot of us were perhaps justifiably widely criticised and ridiculed on social media. But some of the criticisms that I didn't agree with were those that called us undemocratic, despite the fact that we are asking for what I would argue is more democracy in the form of a people's vote. We were called supranationalist and dangerous, which if you saw any of the march, you knew that that wasn't true. It was a wonderful rainbow of identities when it came to your nationality. And then also there was one person who likened the crowds to hordes of One Direction fangirls. And I'll be honest, I've been called worse things. Specifically in answer to the anti-democratic criticisms of those who took part in the massive march this weekend. Democracy doesn't stop with voting. There are an awful lot of people who call themselves classical liberals or old-style liberals, who will defend to the hilt the right to freedom of speech. And we are exercising. There is such desperation, I think, at the moment, especially in Remainer crowds, because we aren't given a chance to have our voice heard again. We don't feel represented in Parliament very well at all, or, God, not at all in the government. And so we are using the rest of the democratic tools that we have the right to have in this country, everything at our disposal, whether that is protesting or whether that is writing to your MP or talking shit on Twitter. I was especially reminded by the fact that I started my march at Marble Arch, which is just around the corner from Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, where people exercised traditionally and still do exercise their right to freedom of speech. And people will stand there and take questions and do speeches and that kind of stuff. And I was really strongly reminded of the importance of using every tool in our box if we want our voices to be heard, if we feel not listened to. Which is why I poo-poo, quite frankly, all of the people who call these acts that we're doing undemocratic. We are exactly the opposite. I don't know what is going to come of this period in our history. right now, at the time of filming, the Brexiters are fighting amongst themselves, and the government is fighting amongst itself. Again, they are trying to get rid of Theresa May again. And I won't say I don't care, but I do feel kind of numb. It feels very much out of my hands. Like, there isn't very much else that I can do about it. And despite all of that, I actually feel quite optimistic and lovely, and I'll tell you why.
Very good. He's a natural.
The most wonderful thing about Brexit, and there is a wonderful thing, is the fact that my dad marched with me over the weekend. My dad, who is an ex-Conservative councillor, my dad who grew up and raised me and my brother in deepest, darkest Essex, which is well-known, predominant Leave heartland. He has never been to a march and never even protested in his life. And he called me up and asked me what we were doing for the march. He called me up and told me how important it was that we marched this weekend. He called me and told me to sign that petition. Before the march, we sat down at breakfast, and he showed me the email correspondence he'd had with his local MP. He feels so passionately about this, about the fact that we should stay in the European Union, that he has literally, call it desperation, whatever, but he has actively used everything that he could possibly do as a normal citizen, as somebody who doesn't sit in that building, to have his voice heard. And marching with him yesterday made me so very proud to be there with him and to be his son. And there are so many people like my dad who have never been politically awakened, or are going through a reawakening right now. And that's why I feel so optimistic and good. That is so, it's powerful, and it gives me optimism for whatever future we have, Brexit or not. So anyone can say whatever they like about the people who joined me and my dad this weekend to march. I feel like when all of the systems failed us, when we felt unrepresented in Parliament, when our government is weak and infighting and pathetic, frankly, we stepped up to the plate. And that is going to be really good for our democracy going forward, I think, anyway. Feel free to disagree. There's a comment section. I've been rhyming with oranges. Subscribe video. Toodaloo.